your host, Mimosa,
and co-host Kareem.
Welcome to Sometimes We're Bougie and Sometimes We Hood, to healing, navigating grief. It's a podcast dedicated to exploring the complex emotions of loss, the road to healing, and the strength found in remembrance.
Yeah, what up? What up? You gotta know, I can't hear you. The speakers are.
Okay, never mind. Welcome in. How's everybody doing today? Welcome to Sometimes We Bougie.
Sometimes we heard.
A podcast dedicated to exploring the complex emotions of loss, the road to healing, and the strength found in remembrance, where we speak truth about loss, healing, and everything in between. This is the space where we keep it classy and real about life, loss, and everything in between. I'm your host, Auntie Mimosa. And whether you're in the depths of grief, slowly learning to live with loss, or supporting someone on their journey, this space is for you. Grief is deeply personal. There's no timeline, no rule book, excuse me, and no right way to navigate it. But through shared experiences, honest conversations, and moments of reflection, we can find comfort, understanding, and hope. Today, we're diving into a topic, of course, that's often overlooked, just like many grief topics, and that is grief while healing through injuries, right? So sometimes grief doesn't start with a loss of a person. It starts with the loss of what our bodies could once do. I'm going to say that again, right? Grief doesn't always, excuse me, Auntie Mimosa getting over a cold. Grief doesn't start with the loss of a person. It starts with the loss of what our bodies could once do. So today we're talking about grief and health and how injuries change the way we see ourselves, how and how healing takes time and how we, find purpose in the pause, right? So talking about grief and healing. So Auntie Mimosa hung out last Saturday all day and got sick. And I'm on the tail end of it. So you can hear me still coughing. That's why I wasn't on last Sunday. Sorry. But yeah, this is the real of it. So, but let's talk about it. Let's dive in. Come on, cousin Kareem. What we talking about? Like I said, grief and injuries, right? So you know, people talk about grief like it only shows up when somebody transitions and passes away, right? But grief has many layers, and sometimes it shows up in our own bodies. Okay. And you hear about trauma, like we hold trauma in our hips, we might hold trauma in our shoulders, like when you're tense and you've had a tense day, you hold that stress in your shoulders, you hold it all over your body. And when you get hurt, or when your body starts to break down or slow down, or you can't move the way you used to, that's a kind of a loss as well. And you're not just recovering from like an injury, you're grieving the version of yourself that could do things without thinking twice. And the one who didn't need help to stand or lift or run or dance. Okay. So like I noticed that about myself. Auntie Mimosa's in her 50s. She's 50 something. Y'all, you've heard me say my age. But I'm not as strong as I used to. And I know that I don't have the same energy. I don't have the same strength as I used to. I have a left knee that's injured. So as far as like walking like I used to walk, I cannot walk the same way. I actually kind of rock when I walk because I baby my left knee. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to continue to injure it. It's already injured, and I don't want to injure it any further than what it's already injured. So I baby my left knee. But like I said, at and I just say at 53 years old, I no longer have that same strength. I no longer have the same stamina. I know like I cannot run. Okay. Now maybe if somebody was chasing me, I could probably run. I would run if my life depended on it. But no, I don't have that anymore. What about you, cousin Kareem?
Yeah, I got that. I still have the ability to run and manipulate. Actually, I lost a lot of weight and resulting in a lot of my power going away, but I'm working it back in there right now in certain situations. I still have my stamina. I just don't have the the strength capability I used to have. And I'm starting to get used to it. Starting to work out more now.
Uh-huh.
Getting back to where I was in
Okay.
my early 20s, maybe 30s. But I didn't realize like how much I had lost.
Mm.
Because I was a lot heavier than I than I am now. And the strength was there. And then
Right.
now I see it. I'm starting to visually see it, and I realize that I actually started to see my size. That's the funny part. For
Mm.
so long, until I took this picture in church back in like 2017, before the pandemic, I took a picture and I thought I was actually taller than myself. That was the crazy part. I thought I was like 5'10", something like that. And it was crazy. But the reality was that I'm only like five. After my accident back in 2013, I actually shrank like 2 inches. I'm 5'3" now.
Oh, don't talk about shrinking. I've already shrunk an inch. I used to be 5'9". I'm 5'8" now.
Yeah, see, it don't even feel like that to me. It's like I'm 5'3" now.
Mm.
And with that, it was like I had the weight loss. And I'm like, man, like I didn't know I shrank that much. Like I've been this size for so long that I just ignored everything else and it's kept on moving.
Mm.
And now, my size is like properly built for me.
Right. And that's
You know,
crazy. I mean, and that's one of the things that's really a phenomenon about the body, right? So when I weighed almost 400 pounds, and yes, Auntie Mimosa was like right at 400 pounds, um, I appeared shorter. And then when I reduced in size and like really, was able to reduce my body size down to where I am now, I now appear taller. So it's like when you're heavy, your bones kind of compress, and then once you release that weight, your body kind of stretches out. You know what I'm saying? So but yeah, just when it comes to living and as we age, and when we talk about grieving, as far as like what we used to do, how we used to do, like, you know it's it's amazing. Excuse me, it's amazing because remember our parents used to say, oh, I used to be able to, or you hear people, oh, you need to slow down. But it's as we age, we kind of grieve who we used to be when we were younger, right?
yeah,
Right.
you start to miss out on the things that you used to do.
Mm-hmm.
You don't you hold on to it like as if you still the same person. And so you get to that certain part in your life where you actually have to perform that same way. And
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, your body's like, nah, we ain't doing this like that anymore. And all of a sudden then you remember, oh wait, how old am I? Oh, that's why. Oh, I see now. Like
Mm-hmm.
the old adage. And it's like, unless you properly train yourself every day,
Right.
you're not gonna hold on to it the same way. And
Right.
it's kind of a mix in
Mm-hmm.
itself. It's just you think in one way until you get tried, and then all of a sudden, then it's like, wait a minute, I can't do that no more. And it's like, damn, that's messed up.
Right. So, of course, so like people talk about grief like it only shows up, like I said, like when somebody passes away, but it has layers, right? And we all, like I said before, as I said earlier, it shows up in our own body. So imagine like when you get hurt, when your body breaks down, slows down, you can't move the way you used to. That's a kind of loss as well. And you're not just recovering from like an injury, you're recovering, you're grieving. Excuse me, as I said, the version of yourself that could do the things that you didn't think twice about, right? And it's wild how like a broken bone, a surgery, or even chronic pain can make you feel disconnected, not just physically, but emotionally. And you start to question your independence, your strength, your identity. And sometimes the hardest part isn't the pain, it's the patience, right? The waiting, the learning how to trust your body again. So today, we're talking about that silent kind of grief, that the one that lives in the body. So we're going to unpack what it means to mourn the old you and find peace in recovery and redefine what strength really looks like when healing is the hardest thing you've ever had to do, right? What's your thoughts about that, cousin Kareem?
Yeah, it's a tale of just being truthful with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times, like, you just kind of ignore what's going on in the background of your life, and you try to just be inclined to just do what you think you're supposed to do. And so you come into a revelation that this age thing really kicks in kind of hard, you know. But I think that in my going, you can still do some of the things that you used to. It just has to be at a slower prognosis. You can't just do the same thing, especially once you hit that 50-year mark, that mid-grain mark. Well, we call it mid-grain. Some people might look at their 40s as the mid-grain. But it's like,
Right.
I look at that and I say to myself, I'm like, no, I can still do this. I can still do that.
That middle age.
Yeah. And I think that's really what kind of keeps things going is it's in your head, the grace that you give yourself to say that I can still accomplish certain things in my life physically, because mentally you should be able to say, hey, I could do a lot of things, but
Right.
it's just where do people actually put that into perspective?
Right. Because I mean, and it's serious. Like as we age, the body does lose muscle. Um, and it's amazing like how you lose your strength. If you don't use it, you lose it. That is so true. And but let's be real. Like, let's be real for a second. Okay. When you first get injured, it's not just your body that hurts, right? Excuse me. It's your spirit, it's your confidence, sometimes even your identity. It's like your body suddenly turns, like it turns on you. And now you're trying to figure out how to trust it again, right? So, and then most of us don't even realize it, but physical injury has emotional stages, just like any other kind of grief. So we're gonna break that down. So, cousin Kareem, let's talk about like the first time you were injured. Have you or had a major surgery and how you felt about that?
Man, that was like back in 2013, and it was, what are we talking, like 12 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
I had got hit by a car and my left leg tore my ACL. These jokers, the doctors at the one institution I was going to, institution I was going to, they're saying like, oh, your ACL is not torn, it's held on by a couple of strands. And then I'm looking at the thing and I'm like, well, how many strands? 3. Like ACL's got like 100 strands in it. I'm talking about, like, you might as well say it's broke. It's torn.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and so I had to go through that to get that out of my mind, and then
Mm-hmm.
go through the factors of realizing that it was torn, and then what is it going to take for me to get it back? Then I had
Right.
to wait for the resurgery, and it was like all of that, and it was just so crazy. It
Mm-hmm.
just took like 9 months. It took 9 months. I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to therapy every day, trying to get back in shape, trying to do this, trying to do that. Still going to work. After a while, I went back to work, and then it was just like, okay, you had the surgery. Now you got to have rehab. And then after all of that, it was just, okay, back out there again. And it's like, damn, that was it was just so long a trauma.
It was a long process before,
Yeah, the
right?
process of it. And then I had to deal with all of that mentally and physically.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, I had to like still rely on my spiritual aspect to keep
Mm-hmm.
me going,
Right.
because they weren't really helping. They sending me to therapy to do like,
When you should
oh
have had surgery, like immediately.
yeah, and they're like trying to take it like, oh well, let's see how far we can get you. I'm like, what are we talking about?
Mm-hmm. You should have
You
had
know,
surgery for the repair. Right.
yeah,
So would you say, like, when you, of course, when you had your accident, and I know, like they say the first stage is shock, right? And that's the moment when it happens, whether you fall, twist your ankle, hear a snap, right? Time almost stops. And you're not even thinking yet. You're just numb. You might be confused in disbelief. You keep saying things like, I'm okay, I'm fine, even when you're not, right? And the shock is your body's way of protecting you. And your mind can't process what just happened. So it goes on autopilot. And but once the adrenaline fades, that's when the reality hits, right? Right.
yes, indeed.
So you talk about when you got hit by a car and dealing with the whole ACL and the physicians that really should have just took you into surgery and repaired it. Um, I believe injury, my first real injury, like self injury, was I was working in a group home in North Carolina, and I went to move one of my clients, and I heard a pop in my wrist, in my right wrist. And I was like, "Ooh." And she looked at me and I looked at her. And she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." So I didn't think anything of it because I didn't feel any pain. It was just a pop. We heard the pop. I didn't feel any pain. I was like, "Yeah, I'm good." And I went to move her the second time. And the second time I went to move her, the pain just shot completely up my right arm. And I was like, "Ooh." I was like, "This is not gonna work." So I ended up leaving work and going to the emergency room. And they like did x-rays or whatever, and they saw like the wrist wasn't broken. And then of course the whole, and I think insurance just aggravates the situation when when you have to go through all these tests before, you know, or you have to go through all these things before the repair of whatever injury you have. And in the meantime, you just made the whole damn thing worse, right?
You tore your ligament.
So I actually, yeah, I popped some tendons and ligaments in
Mm.
my wrist, and I had torn the cartilage in my wrist at the same time. So, excuse me, after going through physical therapy and trying to continue to use my right hand, and I'm steady dropping things because my hand and my wrist, is consistently getting weak. Finally, they actually did an MRI with like contrast and saw where the tendon and the ligaments had popped and where I had torn the cartilage, and my ulnar, either my ulnar or my radius, one of the two, was beating up the cartilage where it was torn and was fraying it. So when they went in to do the repair, they actually had to shave and smooth down that cartilage. It was my ulnar. They had to break my ulnar, shave it down by a centimeter to keep it from beating up the cartilage, and then put my tendons and ligaments back together in my wrist.
Man.
So of course, after that, and going through that surgery, I have a plate and 6 pins in my right forearm. So strength and lifting, and that happened back in the late 90s. You know what I'm saying? Late 90s, 90s, in 98.
Late.
No, I take that back. It was 95, somewhere in there when I did it. And then by the time I had surgery, it was a couple of years later, something like that. Because my kids, Darius and Aaron were really, really little. But anyway, so with that, now you move, once you come to the shock of all that, right? Now you got stage 2, which is denial. So then comes the denial. And this is the part where you're telling yourself it's not that bad, or I'll be back to normal in a week, right? Or the denial, the denial feels like hope, but it's really resistance. And it's that part of us that can't accept limitations. It's like we're fighting against the idea that our lives might look different for a while, right? And you try to get back to doing things too soon, lifting, walking, working, and your body reminds you really, really quick, nope, we're not there yet.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you
remember that.
Right, like how I feel now. You know what I'm saying? Even though it's been an entire week that I've been sick. It's been an entire week. And my body's still like, no. I'm sorry. My body's still like, no, you're not ready. But, I am. I was like, I'm not about to go 2 weeks without doing this podcast. So, but then, of course, stage 3 is anger, right? And then the anger shows up. And you're like, phew. Like, this is the one that sneaks up on you when you have an injury, right? You might be mad at yourself. Why didn't I slow down? Why didn't I take my time? Or you mad at the world for interrupting your plans. You might even lash out at people trying to help you because, like, deep down, you're mad that you even need help in the first place. So an anger during an injury isn't just about the pain. It's about the loss of control. You've lost your rhythm, your independence, your normal routine, and that hurts in a way nobody can see, right?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about that? That's like stage 3.
Yeah, I didn't really have much of that. I think for me, it was just mad at the situation because when I tore my ACL, football player in the Steelers, he tore his ACL, Troy Polamalu, and he returned back in like 9 months. And these jokers were talking about, it's going to take like a year, maybe 15 months for you to come back. And I'm like, nah, it's not going to take that long. It's tore. So it was me arguing with them, which made them jump up and rejudge my knee.
Okay.
To say that you can reiterate it or not reiterate, rehab it to the extent that Troy Polamalu did. I'm like, my legs were in good shape. I was in good shape. I was running up and down like a mile and a half from where I had to park to the dealership I was working at.
Right.
So it was like every day. It was like mile and a half of running and or speed walking going up a hill. So it was for me, it was just a matter of what else am I gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
Like what else is it gonna be? You know, it had
Right.
to, I had to just do something, but it was
Gotcha.
just it was traumatic for me because these jokers were they had me in a position where they were like, well, I put it like this. Let me say this. I went to physical therapy after all of this.
Mm.
I had tore my ACL, everything, and they're like, "Oh, you're not able to walk, so you got to do this." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" They're like, "Oh, well, we need to do this." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" This walked in here.
Right.
Yeah, but you can't walk. I'm like, so I asked the lady behind the counter, "What did I just do? Did I not just walk in here?"
Right.
She's like, and the doctor's looking at her like, "Did he just walk in?" I'm like, "What the, is wrong with
Mhm.
you? Like, how did you not see me just
Well,
walking? I stood up when you came out and said my name. Like, what is
mhm.
wrong with you?" So I just left. So they're like, "Oh, we need to go and change the prognosis and the diagnosis."
Mm.
I'm like, we're not even gonna do this appointment. I'm not gonna sign off on it that I
Mhm.
came. You're
Mhm.
gonna reevaluate this whole situation, call a doctor, and then that's gonna be it. And so I called a doctor immediately after that, and she was like, "What, man? The person that I seen, the therapist that
Mhm.
I seen, wasn't there the next time I came back because
Right.
it was the stupidest. You calling me in there to say that I didn't tear my ACL and that I was in a wheelchair after 5 months of
Right.
like, what are we talking about? Like, I already had the surgery. I had, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? I'm supposed to be going to. Yeah, it was just a messed
That
up
sounds like it was
situation.
like really traumatic. That was a traumatic experience. So, so if anybody's just now, joining us on sometimes we bougie, sometimes we're hood, we're talking about, grief when it comes to injury and our health and aging and grieving the what we used to be or how we used to do things versus, where we are now and that acceptance. So we just kind of went through um three of the stages of grief, shock, denial, anger when it comes to injuries in the body. Um, and the fourth stage is sadness, right? And that sadness, that's, excuse me, it's quiet. And that's the heavy part of healing that people don't always talk about enough, right? This is when the loneliness sets in, like when you're watching life it keep moving without you and your body feels different, your energy's low, and your mind starts whispering things like, will I ever be the same again? Or am I ever going to be able to do this again? And this stage can feel endless, right? But it's where deep reflection happens. It's where you start learning to be gentle with yourself, to grieve the body, the pace, and the confidence that you used to have, right? Um, I can definitely say that I've experienced that because with my left knee injury, with this knee injury, I don't have the same walk. You know what I'm saying? And I look at that like I know I cannot wear heels anymore. I would love to wear heels. Oh my gosh, I would love to wear a nice pair of heels or stilettos. I can't do it. I'm not even going to try. I'm not. I'm not going to do it. I
You
already
can't
know.
wear wedges.
Wedges, it depends on how high the incline is because that puts strain on my knee, on my left knee
Yeah.
when I wear a heel. And even if I do like a boot, it depends on how high the heel is on a boot. Even if it's a nice, thick, sturdy heel, it depends on the incline of that, how high that heel is, and how my knee is going to deal. It's going to hold up. So away with the heels. I recently, like this year, got rid of all my high heel shoes. That was hurtful. because I was the woman that used to wear high heels. I mean, I loved my heels, loved them. Couldn't walk in them no more. So I had to give that up. So that was a sadness. That was a reflection, like, okay, what are you going to do? You got to let them go. You got to let them go. And then, of course, stage 5. Well, before we even move on to stage 5, what is something that you may have had to let go of, like in your wardrobe, because of Kareem?
Shit, I had to let go like half my wardrobe because I had shrank down over the years. Like
Mm-hmm.
it took me like 2 years to like get through all of that, and it
Right.
was crazy because, like I said, they didn't even diagnose me with the right thing. But it took me 2 years to get over it. And then after that, I realized I had lost so much weight because I couldn't work out because I didn't go to the gym because they were like, you shouldn't go to the gym. And so I just lost like a lot of weight.
Mm-hmm.
And then years later, I had another surgery and yeah, it just wiped me out. It just literally wiped me out. And I couldn't get back to mental capacity to working out just recently, maybe like 2 years ago. And yeah, I dropped like 20 pounds.
Right.
So it was just the looking at the situation and saying to myself, you need to do this, but I just don't feel like it.
Right.
And I still feel able enough. And then one day I woke up and I'm like, why do I look so small? And then I seen like somebody that I used to hang out with, and they're like, man, you got small. I'm like, and it's 2 people that told me that, and I'm like, okay, now I see it. Like now I see it.
Right.
It's just like it's too late by then. You just change. You just change physically. And then trying to get back to that at 53, it's like, wait a minute, who do you think you really are? Like, you had to be in a certain mindset and a certain physical set to achieve that. Right. I wasn't in there. So I just had to change my whole thinking. It took me like about 9 months to like change my thought process, that I can't act like as if I'm still that young, energetic person, even though I still think I am for 53.
Right.
But I know I'm not. I know I'm not. And so I had to slowly get through it and tell myself, yep, I'm not there anymore. And it's accepted and then move on.
Right. Move forward. That whole forward movement. Right. So that brings us to like stage 5, acceptance. And this isn't about liking what happened or pretending everything's okay. Acceptance is the moment you stop fighting reality and working with it, right? You begin to notice progress, even if it's small, like, like walking without crutches, bending your knee a little more, or excuse me, finally sleeping with pain. Am I glitching? What is going on with my stuff over here? You start to, see healing not as going back to like the quote who I was, but as becoming someone stronger, softer, more self-aware than before, right? So with these 5 stages, shock, denial, anger, sadness, and acceptance, they're not a straight line, right? Some days you might move forward, the next day you're right back to being angry again, then you're okay. And then healing isn't about perfection, it's about persistence, right? And every step, every stretch, every breath is progress. And if no one's told you lately, like, your healing is sacred work. Your healing is sacred work, right? So let's talk about when the body hurts and the heart feels it too, right? You ever notice how people treat physical injuries like they're no big deal? It's like, oh, I got hurt. You know what I'm saying? Oh, that's no big deal. Well, somebody breaks the ankle, they have surgery, like you said, get into a car accident, get hit by a car, and the first things people say to you is, "You'll be fine, just rest," right? But they don't talk about what that rest really looks like. The frustration, the helplessness, the loneliness that creeps in when your body can't do what it used to do, right? It's
That's the big thing.
the big right, and it's wild how we rush physical recovery, but we make space for emotional grief, right? We say, take your time to heal your heart. But when it comes to our bodies, we expect instant bounce back. Bing, we post a picture in a sling or crutches, and people comment, "You're strong, you got this." Like, when deep down, that, like, you're scared and sad, or even ashamed that you need to ask for help, because you're not in that element anymore, right? But here's the truth of it. Here's the truth of it. Physical pain and emotional pain live in the same house. Ooh, I'm gonna say that again.
Yeah.
Physical pain and emotional pain live in the same house. Oh
Yeah,
my.
they have to be approached the same way.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go into it thinking that it's just the same. It's the difference, and I think that's what people do. They don't acknowledge is that spiritual pain is something different, completely different. But physical and emotional pain are so tied close together that you have to approach them in the same manner.
Right.
Yeah.
And so many people don't understand that. A lot of people don't understand that. So they talk to each other. Physical pain and emotional pain talk to each other. So when your body hurts, your mind hurts. When your mobility changes, your self-image changes. When your energy drops, your spirit drops, right? And you cannot separate them, because the body keeps them, and the body's keeping score, and it's keeping them together. It's connected. It's keeping everything connected. So it's not like physical pain is over here and emotional pain is over here, and you can get one without, you can get one done without the other, or you can get the other one done without the other. No, they're connected. They're connected 100 all together. It's, it's part of that. Would you say the hip bone is connected to the knee bone is connected to the hip bone type of deal, right? um, so, and they do, and sometimes it's even the injury itself that breaks you, right? It's the silence that follows. It's when you're sitting at home looking at the brace or the bandage and realizing that healing takes more than medicine. It takes mourning, and it's mourning the body you had, the rhythm you lost, and the independence that used to feel so simple. And that's why it's important to tell people, like, if you're grieving after an injury, you're not overreacting. You're being human, because every limitation, every scar, every ache is a reminder that you survived something, but also that something in you changed or shifted, right? So give yourself permission to feel it all, the soreness, the sadness, the slowness, and let your body and your emotions heal together, and not on separate schedules, like the body's first and then or then my emotions. No, let them, they have to heal together, right?
Yeah.
So here's a reflective question, like, what's something your body's used to do easy, or that you used to do easy, that you miss today, cousin Kareem?
I know. I'm thinking that's a good question right there. Man. I know before it was like taking the stairs. You know what I mean? It would be a simple thing before, but
Mm.
I work on the 8th floor, and the first 3 flights don't count because that's just they designed the 4th floor to
Uh,
be the 3rd floor to be like 3 stories up. So you start in the 3rd floor, like the second
mm.
floor, second floor 3 stories up.
Okay.
So it's like you started on say on step 3 or
Uh-huh.
4 actually. And so I remember I tried to walk these steps when I first started work where I'm working at. And I'm like, why am I so tired? I only walked up 8 flights, and I realized I didn't walk up 8 flights. I walked up 11 flights. And it was just like, but yeah, that's the only thing I could say. It's like the emphasis on doing something that should be simple now,
Right.
and it turns into be more complicated and
Uh-huh.
more hindrance or strenuous. And you're like, why is it so much strenuous? And then you realize how old you are, and you're like, oh, okay.
Right. Okay. So you
And
know
that's
what?
the battle. That's the battle. I think the battle is trying for you to
Uh-huh.
accept where you are in your age range, you know,
Yes, I
versus
am.
saying that it's not that.
So, like, I'm at work. So, right. And my coworker is sitting over there in a corner. And so I'm gonna ask him this question. And so y'all just hear a voice. You're not gonna see his face because y'all don't heard him cough several times during this whole thing. So answer right. Excuse me. So answer the question. What's something your body used to do easily that you miss today?
If he's talking, we can't hear him.
He's thinking.
Oh,
I mean, just jumping up early in the morning, just really just jumping up, not having to sit there, before you actually just get up in the morning. Like I have to physically sit there on the side of the bed now to make sure all my body parts is awake. It's not like before you just jump up when you hear something,
Uh-huh.
just out of the bed, unless your body's scared, your body reacting. But now if you're just getting up to use the restroom, you got to sit there for a couple seconds.
Did you hear him?
no. I only heard
Okay.
part.
So he said, like waking up in the morning. He was like waking up in the morning, like when he was younger, you could just jump out of bed and go. Now, like he got to wake up, sit on the side of the bed for a moment, make sure his body parts is working, and then get up and go.
It's like almost like
Yeah.
meditation. Couple minutes.
Yeah,
Right.
that's relevant. That's relevant.
Uh huh.
It's a crazy transition from knowing that you can do something to having to accept the fact that you might not be able to do it, and you got to think yourself through it.
Right. Right. Because I know when I get up in the morning, I'm not jumping. I'm not jumping up.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not jumping up straight out off the bed. I got to sit up, take my time, get up, you know. Yeah. Move slow. As I say, move slow. If I move too fast, I'd be like, whoa, wait a minute. Yeah. So when the body hurts, like you said, the heart feels it too, right? So
Yeah.
have you ever noticed how people, like we said, physically, we went through that, physically treat injuries like they're no big deal, right? Um, we're gonna move to Jesus, phone is ringing. So, like, think about it. Like a sudden injury, it interrupts your life, right? One moment you're moving freely, the next you're dependent, restricted, and forced to slow down, right? And that kind of shock can bring up like old feelings of powerlessness and fear, or like I said, loss of control, especially if you've experienced trauma before, right? And the brain doesn't always separate this injury happened now from this reminds me of when I was hurt before. Okay. The brain doesn't do that. So, like, physical injuries can actually reactivate trauma memories or trigger depression symptoms. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back who didn't hear that, right? Physical injuries can reactivate trauma memories or trigger depressive symptoms. Right? Yeah. And research has even shown that people healing from injuries can experience like increased anxiety or depression. And it's not just because of the pain, but because of the drastic change in identity and routine. You go from being independent to having to ask for help, from working out or working full time to doing nothing but waiting. And that's a lot for anyone's mental health to handle, right?
Yeah. I think it's like, geez, I forgot what I was about to say. Go ahead.
So, and that's another thing. Look, right? It's the way your mind works is different as you continue to age. And that's something that we grieve, right? There's a point in time where we were probably quick on our feet with thoughts and come back and responses. And now you like, you have to wait a minute, let your brain kind of catch up with your mouth, or sometimes your mouth might say something faster than your brain can calculate what you really need to say, right?
Yeah.
So, um, so yeah, so if you've been through an injury and you notice like your mood dropping or old memories are surfacing, that's not weakness. That's your nervous system processing a loss. And healing physically and emotionally happens on parallel tracks, right? One moves through the body, the other one moves through the soul, right? So give yourself permission to grieve both. You're not just healing the muscles or the bones, you're healing trust in your body, faith in yourself, and peace with the new version of what that's what you're going to look like or what you're going to become, right?
That is true.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a new action that reciprocates off of the previous action.
Right.
You know that what you were doing, but what the action wasn't meant for the result of the play that came out afterwards.
Right.
It's just a trick of words, trick of playing. But it's just, yeah. I was going to say something, but it's not relevant to the conversation. But
so I think back, like I know for a fact, okay, like my whole, like the times that I've had an injury, right? Injuries, I had surgery. I did that. I rushed my body back to recovery, right? I rushed back to I rushed my body back, so to speak. I rushed back to the recovery. I rushed back to moving too fast, and we do that. We have a tendency to do that. You know what I'm saying? As human beings, we want to get back to the quote unquote norm. We want to get back to feeling how we used to feel, or we want to get back to the way we used to do things. And when you're healing from an injury, or you're healing from being hurt, you can't do that. You cannot. You just cannot move quickly, right? So let's talk about that recovery process, like mental health and recovery, right? You have isolation, frustration, dependency on others, fear of not regaining function, and like that whole identity loss. Like, who am I? And what if I can't do what I used to, right? So like we said, that's something people don't warn us about or warn you about. The emotional weight of recovery. It's not discussed, it's not talked about. Everybody focus on the physical part. They ask you, how's your leg? You know what I'm saying? Did you or how's your arm? Did you get your stitches out? When does your cast come off? When's your next doctor's appointment? But no one or people very rarely ask, like, how are you feeling about this? How are you dealing with this? You know, and because once the pain start to fades, the emotions start to speak louder, right?
That
And
is true.
one of the hardest parts of recovery is isolation. I'm going to say that again. One of the hardest parts of recovery is isolation. Because when you're homebound or when you're at home or you're limited, life doesn't stop. Life keeps going on, right? And it just moves on without you. Your friends and family mean well, but they go back to work, their social events, they go back to their routines, and you're sitting there scrolling through social media, trying to be happy for everybody else, but deep down you feel invisible, right? And we all know this is true. Like whenever you have surgery, maybe for what, the first 3-4 days, maybe the first week, everybody is there. They're calling you. How you doing? How are things going? What do you need? What can I do for you? And it's like after that 7 days, it's like, oh, people just disappear immediately. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yep.
like it's like they automatically just disappear.
Yeah.
And then you like,
It's-
unless it's something like serious, like, and I mean any surgery is serious, but unless it's like something like serious, and even then, you might get two good weeks out of people, and then they're gone, right?
yeah, the care. I think people just don't know how to care, and it's not that they don't want to, but they don't know how to care. And when it comes down to the reality of things, they just don't know the extent of what it means to continuously have to care.
Right. And we talked about this even with when it comes to the transition, right? How to and what to do for your loved ones. And it's not always about physically being present, right? And today there's so many different things that you can do for that person. You got Instacart some groceries, hire a maid service to come over at least once a week for the next 3 months to get them time to adjust. Hire a laundry service to pick up their clothes for the next 3 months to give them some grace so they don't have to worry about that. You know what I'm saying? There's too many, like, there's a host of services out here that you can do for people um to assist them. Okay, so you know like like I said, I was down excuse me a whole week. It started last Sunday, well, last Saturday night, Sunday, and I posted this and I was like, girl down, I'm sick. Okay, because I wasn't calling people to say, hey, I'm sick. All right. And Dr. Nicola Mitchell, right, called me. She heard how I was sounding. I was sounding way, way worse than this. And she's like, no, ma'am, no, I'm ordering you some medicine right now. Like, what are you taking? So now guys, y'all know I don't like to take medication. I don't like to take medicine. I like to do all the natural stuff. And she was like, no, you need some medicine. So
Yeah.
she Instacarted me some medicine. Okay. Now, so that way I would be able to sleep and not be coughing all night long. The medicine cost $2, but because it cost her more to expedite it to me than the medicine cost, right? Then I had another girlfriend call me and she was like, "Oh, no, no, you sound horrible." No, she was like, "I'm coming." And actually, no, I called them. I called her to say that I wasn't going to another girlfriend's event and I was sick. And that's what I told her. I was like, "I can't go. I'm sick." And I'm still sick. And she was like, "Oh no, you sound terrible." She's like, "I'm going grocery shopping. I'm going to get you some soup and some ginger ale and get you these things. And I'll be by there and I'll let you know when I'm at your place and I'll drop it off." You know what I'm saying? So I've had people do that for me. So that's what care looks like
Yeah.
when you're hurting. You know what I'm saying? Or when you're under the weather, or when you just need to sit still and sit in one place, right? That's what that looks like. And like I said,
See, that stuff doesn't happen to dudes. Like a dude won't do that for another dude. Like a dude won't do that for another dude. It's just like hope you feel better. All right, peace. It's just
that's that nurturing. That's that nurturing y'all are missing. That's that nurturing some of you all miss.
yeah, yeah,
But it is okay to do that for a fellow mate. It is. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? As women, we do it for all. We do it for other women. We do it for men. Well, that's what it is. So at this point, cousin Kareem, any last words? This is going to be a part 2 to this because we do have to get into more about isolation, the frustration, independency, and like the fear of not regaining function. So that's going to be part 2. And hopefully next Sunday I'll sound and feel a whole lot better. It won't be 2 weeks
Yeah,
of
you
this.
won't be. Yeah, you'll be
Right.
in someplace more comfortable. Yeah.
Yes.
Now
yes.
I'm good. I'm good. I think
You good?
yeah, we just need to just cater to life and like we should have expectations based on our previous family members about how we should be able to proceed in life. I mean, physicalities, harm,
Mhm.
just things that like that, just things that should be naturally known in your life. But
Right.
after that, like if you know like your family starts getting sick in their 40s, then you know you're not gonna have probably a long life. But if you know your family doesn't really get into those sick elderly happenstances until like your 60s or your 70s, then you know you're gonna live a longer life. But are you gonna live it happily? Those are the things that you should take into account, and you should make acceptable in your life. Because trying to deduct your life by saying, "Oh well, I feel this way," or "I'm thinking this way," doesn't mean that you are that way.
Right.
And you need to generally subtract things off of what you are versus what you aren't.
Right.
You
All
know.
right. I hear you.
But based on next time, we'll have
Right.
more to talk about.
We will. We will. So I will say thank you for spending this hour with us. And if this episode helped, please share it with a friend who might need it. And remember, you are not alone in this grieving journey, whether you're grieving the loss of a loved one or an injury, a job, whatever your loss is, you are not alone in this journey. That's what Auntie Mimosa and Cousin Kareem are here for you, for. So, and when it comes to grief, there is no timeline. We say this over and over again. There is no timeline, no wrong way, no right way to grieve. Honor your feelings, embrace the memories, and allow space to heal in your own time. If this episode reminded you to be gentle with yourself, share it with someone who is in the thick of their healing too. Follow Sometimes We Bougie and Sometimes We Hood wherever you listen to podcasts. So until next time, be kind to yourself, hold space for your emotions, and remember, you don't have to walk this road in silence. Your love and your light still matters. Follow, like, share, and leave a comment. We love to hear from you, your reflections, your rituals, your road to healing. And connect with us on social media. On Instagram, Queen of Life Empowerment and SBSH Grief Podcast. On Facebook at Sometimes We Bougie, Sometimes We Hood. and TikTok at Sometimes We're Bougie and Hood. And if you'd like to be a guest on our show or send us, or just give us a comment or share your personal story with us, email us at Sometimes We're Bougie, Sometimes We're Hood, all one word, at gmail.com. But we're always real. Until next time, remember, healing might be quiet, but that's when it happens. Our bodies remember pain, but they also remember love, touch, laughter, and hope. Healing from an injury isn't just about moving again. It's about returning to yourself. Have a great night. Y'all enjoy your week. And again, be gentle and kind. Take care.
Yes, indeed. Be safe. All right. Take care.
It's a podcast dedicated to exploring the complex emotions of loss, the road to healing, and the strength found in remembering.